Hey, are you there? Oh. Hey, Kelly, I'm not sure if you're there, but I cannot hear you. Hey, how you doing? Oh, you're muted.
Not used to coming in muted. I'm used to hosting the space.
Yes.
I was like, wait a minute, what? Yeah. How you doing?
I'm good. It was nice to see you at Mike's launch party.
Yes. I was gonna say you looked familiar.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, we've met, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny. So Michael had said that I should talk to you about learning how to grow my list and that
Okay.
maybe I could get some advice from you. So that's
Okay.
I want to learn about you and what you do, but that's why he connected us, was because he's like, you need to talk to Jess. Jess knows how to do that. And I'm like, okay.
I love Mike. He's very good at flattering people. Okay, so I heard a little bit about what you do at Mike's launch party. Do you want to expand on your dream clients and what you're currently doing for list building?
Sure. My dream clients are they're professional women. They are making 100 plus a year. They are, so here are the people, and you'll recognize them the minute I start describing them. Okay. So they're the overachievers of the world. They have a plan, a backup plan, and a backup plan for their backup plan. They're perfectionists, control freaks. They're the people who are the foundation of the saying, if you want something done, give it to a busy person. That's my people, right? And they live with a constant state of anxiety and worry and dread and self-doubt and imposter syndrome and blah, 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 but nobody would ever know it, right? On the outside, I'm perfect. I've got it together. It's all good. On the inside, it's like, review every argument you ever had with anybody and, figure out the better way to do it for the next 3 days, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Those are my peeps.
That sounds like me. My friends call me the most chill, anxious person.
Yes.
Okay. So those are your people. And what are you currently doing? What's your offer?
So I have a 3-part program. So they come in. So if you're in the beginning, you come in at Inner Peace 101, which is it's a 4-month program. It is specifically guaranteed to cut your stress levels in half in 4 months or your money back. So we work on fear, anxiety, worry, dread, self-doubt, inner and outer judgment, and we build a foundation of self-support and courage. That's the first one.
Okay.
Second one is a year, and that's for solidifying your sense of self. So it's claim your space, set your boundaries, own your power, internalize your sense of value, learn to love yourself, right?
Okay.
And then the third one is a series of retreats. That's the third step, is we do retreats for, so here's the deal, is that the first program gives you the bandwidth to actually do personal growth work. The second program makes you solid enough to hold the deeper level work. And then the third program is about actually digging in and doing what people refer to as shadow work, if you've ever heard that. But it's digging all the stuff out of the dark corners of your psyche and pulling it up to the surface and working through it, right?
Yeah.
And most people try to skip to step 3. and they either don't make any progress or they re-traumatize themselves. So I work really hard to make sure people are in the right place.
Wow.
So you don't have to start at the beginning, but most people start at the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And what are you doing?
I've been doing this work a long time.
It sounds, I mean, it sounds like something I need and that a lot of women, a lot of people need, and shadow work does sound super interesting to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and
this
I'm
is
working
great.
on a mental, emotional, and energetic level because my people are also all empaths. They all feel what other people feel. And so I work with them on how to manage their energy field and how to manage the energy of their home and their space to help that with the emotional and energetic safety. So that's another important piece.
Okay. So now, what
Yeah.
in a nutshell are you doing for traffic generation and list building?
Okay, so my podcast is my primary form of traffic and list build. And I'm currently working, I just launched some Facebook ads like yesterday. So I have no idea whether or not they're going to be any good. I've tried Facebook ads in the past several times and failed miserably with them. So not holding my breath. But I've also I'm just getting started with a cold outreach email program that they do personalized invites and stuff like that. So I've also been posting on TikTok and LinkedIn. And I cross post to Facebook and Insta from those.
Okay. And your podcast, are you interviewing clients? Is that you? Are you interviewing potential collab buddies?
So it's a weekly podcast. It is 90, probably 85% me and my co-host. And I do an interview with either one of my coaches. I do stuff with some of my coaches probably once every 4 to 6 weeks. And then I do a guest slot once every 6 weeks. And so that's usually somebody.
Guest?
The guests are, it varies, but there are people who are in the industry. So my podcast is your guide to energy, magic, and the spirit world. And so I have guests within that construct. And I run different themes for the podcast. I'm in my 4th year of the podcast now. So actually my 5th year of the podcast, I'm working my way through that. So this past year has been about becoming a light worker. So I've had more people on who are doing business related things for energy workers and things like that. But typically that's not what I do. It's been mostly, here's some qigong, here's some crystals and, tarot cards and blah, 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 right? It's all of that. The podcast is designed to catch people in that discovery to proof and proselytizing phase where they're like, there must be more to life than this. Well, I've got to find something. And then, holy crap, this stuff really works. I must tell everyone I know and have them do things with me so they don't think I'm nuts, right? And so to take them from that stage, which they typically get lost in for 2 to 5 years in sort of day-to-day life. And in 15 to 20 episodes of binging, you can get through to the next stage, which is looking for the magic pill and realizing that you are the magic pill. So, and that's where I start working with people, is when they realize that they are the magic pill and they're like, okay, I'm ready to do the work now.
So would you say that a lot of your clients come in through your podcast?
Almost all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I also have a book that I wrote called The Overachiever's Guide to Nailing Your Spiritual Growth in Record Time. It's up on Amazon. I did some promotion with that and got some traffic in the door from that. I can't track a single direct sale to it though. I just wrote it in January and launched it in April, and then I moved to Panama. So
Nice.
haven't really done much with it, but yeah.
Okay. Okay. What's your lead magnet?
Well, I have the book. I have a program called Boundaries for Empaths, which is a free download on my homepage of my website. And that is the primary lead magnet I've been using. I'm in the process of putting together a new lead magnet, which is a quiz that is, how do I know if I'm ready for shadow work? Because I'm really, the work that we do in the retreats is very much transformational ritual. And so we're really trying to lean into people who already speak that kind of language, because we've been drawing in a bunch of people who are a little more mainstream and a little less knowledgeable about the other things.
Mhm.
And I can work with them, but it's a harder work if they don't have the foundation of the other stuff, right?
Totally get that for sure.
Yeah. So that's why I'm leaning into that new lead magnet.
Okay. So I could tell you a little bit about like my strategies, and they work for different audiences. Like for example, I'm a marketing manager at one of Canada's largest toy stores. So it doesn't matter if you're at the unawareness phase or the highest phase of awareness, it's pretty easy to get like what we do. So that in that case, I use a lot of user generated contests. So I give away cash prizes. I give away incentives to share and tag your friends. So if you have a big launch coming up or something where people can engage in the comments on Facebook or TikTok, and you can make it circular, so that you have the contest page where people sign up, they get bonus entries for going back to the organic post to engage and tag a friend. That is one thing that for moms works really well. I think that's the most recent thing that Mike was excited by. We collected 4,000 emails in a couple days from that, but that's shopping spree money. And I feel like moms, that's going to be different.
Yeah, it's and mine are high ticket sales. So the shopping spree money, it doesn't really translate well. Yeah.
Okay. So the other thing, and I imagine you're doing this a bit already with your podcast, is interviewing your ideal collaborators. So I know like Mike interviews, he started off interviewing people he just admires to learn from them. I have a friend, Fred, from the sales podcast, I forget what it's called, but he interviews his ideal clients, and I interview my ideal collaborators, people who would never otherwise have spoken to me, because I came out of nowhere in July 2021 and just started interviewing my ideal collab buddies. And I have this whole system where I make sure I check in with them. I make an introduction. I thank them for something. I thank them first. I usually opt in to people's lead magnets and then say something specific I learned from it and see if they respond, and then invite them to the podcast, make an introduction to somebody else, and then ask if they want to do. I started off with freebie swaps. So I had a weekly author meetup. That was my swap, and then I would swap their ebook or their webinar or whatever it was. And you can layer in affiliate commissions as well. But my strategy is super heavy with collaboration. I leverage the podcast. I clip it into short form content. I'm really happy to hear that your podcast does so well, because I was thinking of just podcasting, like having the interview for short form content and scrapping the podcast altogether. But
I've had like 225,000 downloads on my podcast. We've had downloads in 2/3 of the countries around the world, and
that's awesome.
Yeah. And so I've gotten almost all of my business, and I'm over 6 figures out of that. So, but it took a while to build up to that.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
the more content you can put out at once. I was talking with a woman who had done the exact same, like a year and a half ago, she had done the exact same amount of episodes as I had, but she had done them in 1 year and I had done them in 3. And she had the exact same number of downloads as I had. So, within a margin of error, obviously. But
Wow.
so she was putting out 3 episodes a week. I was putting out 1 a week. And so she got there a lot faster than I did.
Yeah.
So I would say more is better.
Yeah. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And your short form content, your TikToks, is that clips from your podcasts?
No, it's so my TikTok is here's Kelly the person. It's so occasionally about a third of it is spiritual advice, and 2/3 of it is TikTok memes and trends, and here's my move to Panama. So it is very much about, get to know me as a person. It's my platform that I loved personally.
Yeah.
And then the more professional stuff is up on Facebook and LinkedIn and things like that.
Okay.
So
how do you feel about
I could do short form on there. Yeah, I could. I mean, I've got people right now. Sorry. I have some people doing clips for me for picked cherries. Have you heard of that app?
No.
It's a way that you're literally cherry picking small clips from the episodes. And so they're going through and creating picked cherries for me, which I could then repurpose, I guess. I got to figure out how I would get them off of picked cherries, but yeah, there's that.
Okay. You could probably store them to Google Drive or Dropbox and use an automation tool to just post it everywhere. Like repurpose.io is $25 a month, and you can repost everywhere, no watermark. I would consider doing that.
Yeah,
and
I'll have to do that. My podcast is audio only, which is the problem.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. How do you feel? There's one more thing I do with ads, but I was wondering how you feel about being very aggressive with a collaboration strategy.
I love collaboration.
Okay. Awesome.
I am all about collaboration. I don't believe in competition.
Nice. I love that.
So yeah, I'm happy to do it.
Well, that's my framework for building out my personal brand, was basically having a system to make slow burn romances with people who I thought, you're my ideal collab buddy, and qualifying them by making sure they have a lead magnet, they're actively marketing. You can see they're not just talking about themselves. If you're looking for people to do book swaps with, looking at new releases, the top new releases in your genre, and making sure you're at a similar level. Not necessarily. I mean, you can reach out to everybody, but yeah. And just actually opting in or sending them a thank you. I always start with a thank you. And then it's like thank yous, check-ins, introductions, and then asks. And I kind of consider a podcast a mix of an ask and an invitation, I guess. And that's really where I build rapport with people who have no idea who I am and would never otherwise give me time of day. And I find it's a lot easier now that I have a list for people to say yes. But I just promoted other people. I basically didn't promote myself at all until very recently, and built up a list by doing the internal swaps. And that was a weekly practice. So like 52 swaps a year. And that was one-on-one cross promotion. Now I'm doing a big summit and bundle. So that's a much more aggressive
Are you
collaboration.
finding that summits work? Because the last summit I did was a freak ton of work and I got nothing out of it.
This is my first huge event, so
Okay.
I will let you know, but I've participated as a, attendee and a speaker and a contributor to bundles. And I find that promotion is super boring. So I'm trying a different approach where I'm gamifying it. And the more attendees my speakers bring in, the higher up they just are auto sorted in my bundle and they get different badges. And I'm also linking other things. So they don't even have to promote the event. They can just invite people to an author meet and greet, or I'm giving away $2,000 in a share and take contest. So they can just share that, and that's linked to their affiliate tracking. So I'm hoping that this is going to help with the contributors who just don't end up promoting. And I think that's a big issue. People either rely on their contributors to promote or have to run a bunch of ads. And I'll probably do a little bit of both. But also it's a saturated market. There's so many summits, and the pre-recorded thing is just so lonely, and there's so much free content. I don't need to go you're asking me to only watch this content at a certain time and not interact with anyone. It's kind of silly. So
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like summits I feel like they need to be replaced with something, but I haven't figured out what yet, although I just sat in on the Expat Money Summit last week, and it had a lot of people on it that I really wanted to listen to, and I did listen. But I mean, I don't know. I tend to do, so my coaches run my first two programs, and then I run the retreats, right? And so I tend to personally work with people who are further along in the process. That's why on LinkedIn, I'm an executive coach for spiritually minded people, because, generally I tend to get people who are I tend to coach the coaches, right? So summits for me are a little harder because I'm generally talking very basic information of those. And so that becomes a little bit more challenging for me. But yeah, I made some affiliate money on the VIP packages on the last summit, but I got no new signups for my mailing list on it. So
Wow.
Yeah, I was really unhappy. My people bought and nobody else sent anybody to me. I was like, not good.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate, especially since you'd think people would feel pressure to, be somewhere on the leaderboard.
They charged everybody $250 to be in the summit, and I think they ran ads with that. So and they didn't charge me the $250 because I had a mailing list and the reach to be able to do the promotion. But I think I may have been the only person on that list who did that. So everything else was cold leads, which is not ideal.
Yeah, I don't think in the future I will pay to participate in any more events, because I'd rather work with other partners who you pay them, or at least they can just do it for free.
Yeah. Now tell me again what your market is.
I work in 3 markets. I'm a marketing manager for a toy company.
Right.
I am a community host for an author community.
Okay.
And my focus is collaboration for authors.
Okay.
And I'm an app developer for businesses to automate their processes. So I'd like to automate collaborations. So just streamline and scale podcasts, summits, cross promotions, agreements, onboarding. So just making sure that you can 10x your output versus paying teams to be maintenance workers, which is what a lot of us are in 2023 with considering the tools we have available.
So in 2006, I created a business plan for something that would fit really well with what you're talking about.
The automation stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it was, so I don't know if you're familiar with selfgrowth.com.
No.
Oh, okay. So selfgrowth.com is are you still there? So I just lost your video. Okay.
I'm switching out my battery, so I get that.
That's fine. So selfgrowth.com is a directory for spiritually based businesses. And they just recently launched a JV marketplace for their community. And, you know, they've done a really crappy job of promoting their site. So I have very little interest in being involved in it. But my model had originally been based on that idea of you have this directory of services for spiritually based businesses, and they all are that there's a front end that lets people come in through an algorithm and say, what do you like to, how do you like to learn? You know, what have you done? What are you working on now? Where do you hope to get? And then based on that, it makes recommendations for the vendors who are in the program as to what they should do next. And then it was set up on the back end that you could join as a vendor. You get a website already built for you. It's templated, obviously. And you could contribute to the podcast and to the e-zine and all of the stuff that the collective was doing to help collaborate to create more traffic, to bring more business into the entire group. And the more you contribute, the more visible you are, and therefore the more business you get, right? And that was the idea. And then in the back end, we also did education for them on how do you create a lead magnet, and how do you promote yourself, and how do you create a program, you know, whatever, right? And I had a whole structure on the front end that was a self-care savings plan, and, you know, with points and all that stuff. So, you know, I had an entire build out business model for this. And with what you're doing, it would not be hard to tack that in. The idea was that within the back end that they could do their newsletters using our system. And if they checked a box that said, yes, I want to cross promote, they could simply write their little piece for the cross promotion. And, you know, they could say, I want to cross promote with X, Y, and Z. And if the other person said yes to that, then they would automatically be propagated into empty spaces in the newsletter, and they wouldn't have to do anything. That was going to be an automated process, right? So that was the vision back in 2006. So I tend to be a little ahead of my time. I built out a learning platform in 2005. So
okay. I like talking to other nerds.
Yeah, I'm a little ahead of my time. So I didn't personally build it out. I paid to have it built out. I am a bit of a nerd. I'm just, you know, I used to program, but not anymore.
So it's built.
So
this
what?
is built. So this is already built.
No, I designed it.
Okay.
I did not build it. I designed it, and I got it to, I got the requirements set up. And then somebody said, do you want to run a tech company? And I went, no. And they said, well, you just built a tech company. And I'm like, oh, never mind. so I wouldn't mind running it, but I would want to run it with somebody who knew the tech. I don't know enough tech, right? It wouldn't work for me to try and run it because I know just enough tech to be dangerous. The last time I programmed was in Pascal. So, you know, I can modify HTML and CSS, but I cannot program from scratch. So,
well, I will argue, play devil's advocate and argue that you are a tech company already. All of us are.
I am.
We
Yes.
already are.
Yeah, but
But
not in a SaaS format. I am not a SaaS, and SaaS
yeah.
is a whole nother level of tech company. So
Have
yeah,
you heard of no code? No code,
no,
low code?
no.
So no code ops is this new buzzword, and Airtable is an $11.4 billion company that allows you to build custom applications without touching any code. And it's projected to be a $159 billion market by 2030 and replace 50% of jobs, because now it is so easy for citizen developers to replace humans with automations beyond, I built a sales funnel and a welcome sequence, and we can all like build custom applications and get into
Yeah.
nooks and crannies. So you could build an MVP or just simplify this project a little bit into a double-sided marketplace format where you have a back-end database and the front end of your website is where vendors can see one type of thing on their front end, and then customers can see something else. But this is something you could build without code on tools like Airtable and Softer in a few weeks, whereas you'd have to play an app developer for months of work and probably six figures to make what you're talking about. Now, I'm not thinking algorithms and the newsletter, just like auto-populating newsletters. That would be that's like version 5.0, but to do something where people can add and revise their details and, communicate with each other, with vendors, with each other, sorts, kind of like e-commerce style, to find the people they need and see certain things based on what they pay for. That is something you don't need to be a SaaS, or you could kind of be a SaaS company without being a high code developer. You could be a no code developer and do that. Something to think about.
Yeah, I'll take a look at that, because if I think about it from where I am in my business right now, that would be a great lead generation source to set that up and make it, very low cost, just enough to cover the costs and get the database, right? Because then I'd have all the people who could potentially buy my services, right?
And it's really nice to have your own web app where it's beautiful, it's your brand, but it's more advanced than other websites where people can actually, they go there to do stuff and communicate. And with Softer, I believe you can have 10,000 members who can actually edit and revise their details, and it will auto update in your database. And then from your database, you could do all sorts of things. You can also have your bookkeeping in there. You can click a button and generate graphics in every dimension with everyone's headshot and business name. You could have your Calendly calls in your database, onboard clients really easily by being like, okay, you're already in here because you booked a call with me. We agreed to a partnership, or you're now a client. And you could just fill in the blanks with the details they already gave you, and then fill in the rest with like, how odd is it that we're from the same neighborhood? And then click a button, have an email sent with their invoice and contract and stuff ready to go. So you can build a database for your front end website while also making your business live on it. It's kind of crazy what you could do. You could do content automation from there as well and pull back the links to study metrics to see, okay, the podcast did well here. Here's my earned subscribers from YouTube here. Here's the transcription that just automatically showed up from Descript. So it depends on how far down the rabbit hole you want to go. Obviously, priorities, right? Like, where do you start? What's the biggest gap?
Right.
But I highly recommend checking out Airtable, and Softer.io is the front end that I would recommend using for the portal, the double-sided vendors, clients, and even courses, whatever you want to put on there from your database, it will just show up. from the, the back end of your database can be updated by people. It will show up on the front end of your website.
Well, yeah, right now I am integrating freak tons of different apps through Zapier.
Yay.
Yeah, so
I'm
I've
happy
got
to hear that.
HubSpot, and Zapier connects that to DocuSign, and those are both connected to Member Vault, and that's connected to Stripe. And yeah, I mean, I've got, I'm also using Mighty Networks, and that is not connected. That goes out on a confirmation email, but that's because I want to control that. But the confirmation email is automated. So you have to press a button and it's automated.
Nice.
Yeah, I've been doing a huge amount of integration of my apps and my programs, because in January, when I launched the book, I intended to take the business from, we were just shy of 200,000 last year. I was planning to take it to 1 million this year, and then the launch didn't work. And so I did all of the integration and upgrades, and got, I did all the training materials for bringing on new sales staff, and did systems for that. And I mean, I got all my back end systems ready to go for $1 million company. And then it went, and I was like, okay, well, I'm moving to Panama, so I can't worry about this right now. So I moved to Panama, and my business went back to what it had been the year before, and so now I'm just retooling up. I'm just getting the marketing machine off the ground again, because I didn't have the bandwidth to try and do anything while I was in the process of moving and selling my house and selling my car and selling everything I owned, and moving to a foreign country and figuring out where the hell I was going to be then, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
I caught COVID in the middle of it too, which is so much fun.
How was that?
Actually, it wasn't bad, because I'm like quadruple vaxxed, but
Okay.
yeah, I was just exhausted and tired and a little sniffly for like a week and a half. But I will say that the exhaustion afterwards has been the hardest thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much of that is COVID related, but that shit's real.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for this primer. How can I help you?
Oh.
What can I do for you?
Oh, I mean,
what do you need? I'm a super connector, just like Mike. I know freak tons of people. I also have been doing business for 25 years. So if there's anything you're not sure about, or you want some advice on, I also did real estate for many years. I was a national trainer in the real estate industry. So, how can I help you? What do you need?
Well, unfortunately, my partner is putting all of our money into real estate in the cryptoverse. So I can't talk to you about that.
Okay.
But I work with authors. I'm running an author collaboration event in January, which is virtual, and an Ontario-based bundle. It's more of a local bundle in the new year. I have a list of 140,000 moms. I'm hoping that's a nice sell for some really big brands.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have any friends who are interested in custom development services, then that's like my main passion, is building custom applications for people. So
who are your authors that you're looking for?
Authors who have books. They're not just, I'm thinking about writing, they're trying to scale their marketing and meet each other, collaborate, find other dedicated authors to form promotional partnerships with.
Okay, so you're not interested in people doing sort of the collaborative book thing to launch themselves, sort of thing, like where they do like 20 people in a book and launch it that way? Is that something?
Yeah, we're talking about anthologies. We have one anthology expert who's speaking. There's like 12 speakers. I want it to be fun. So it's not a lot of presentations, but anthologies is one thing we're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Brave? Brave. Oh shit, what the hell's her name? Brave. Hold on, pulling it up. I did a collaborative one. Brave Healer Productions.
Never heard of.
Okay. So they do anthologies, and she has an entire community. Her name is Laura DeFranco, and it's Laura at Laura DeFranco, DIFRANCO.
How do you spell
.com.
DeFranco?
DIFRANCO.
Okay. Awesome.
And she has a huge community of authors. So she would be a great super partner, power partner for you. Feel free to use my name. I can actually make an introduction for you if you'd like.
That would be great.
Let me make sure. What's your email?
It's hello@jesskotzer.com.
This is a new thing, huh? The hello thing.
Could be. I've been using it for 10 years.
Really? I'm seeing it more often. I've had like 4 people in the last couple of months using hello as their first name, and I was like, the hello at. So okay, so let me be clear. So you're doing a gathering? You're doing what exactly am I calling this?
It's a social learning event. So it's kind of a Frankenstein of a summit and a networking event, because there's a lot of breakout rooms and a lot more networking than learning.
Okay.
Yeah.
So think networking meets. You said, what was the other thing? Networking meets. What?
Learning.
Frankenstein. Learning. Okay.
A Frankenstein of a summit and a networking event.
That's what I was looking for.
And a bundle. Summit. There's like 50 contributors and a bonus bundle as well. Figured if I was going to do a big event, I'd go real big.
Okay. Yeah. Laura has a community of authors. I thought the 2 of you should meet.
Thank you, Kelly.
Yeah.
And did you have any other questions or concerns about your gaps?
No, I don't think so. I appreciate the advice. I've got it all in Otter too. So I'm gonna read the transcript again, and my assistant gets back today from her vacation. So I'll be sitting down with her and saying, okay, we're gonna talk about how we're gonna strategically invite people to the podcast. My podcast does very well. I get, between 5,000 and 7,000 downloads a month. So that's generally enough to motivate people to come on. So that should be fairly simple. So hopefully that'll make life a little easier, and it'll make it easier on me if I'm not doing all of the content creation. So, I've been doing 90% of, well, it pays me to do a lot of it, because then people hear me talk all the time, and they're always hearing about my programs. So that's one of the benefits. But I could easily double the amount of people that I have on the podcast with, guests, and still come out sounding like the expert. So
yeah. There's a podcaster named Francois something, and one of the questions he asks all his guests is about a pain point of theirs, and then he kind of gets to shine for a portion of every podcast where he can come in and coach this expert in their own thing. So there's a clip of just you in every podcast, even if you're spotlighting another guest.
I love that idea. That would work for every single guest I've had except for one. He never let me get a word in edgewise.
That's the worst.
Yeah. I was like, really, dude?
Yeah, it's
But he did
embarrassing.
promote it. So I gotta at least do that. And he was pretty well known. So he did at least
Okay.
promote it. So
Nice.
so you said you're doing a podcast. Is there any advice you would like on getting the podcast off the ground?
Well, this is embarrassing. I never technically started a podcast. So it's
Mm.
interviews on YouTube, Facebook, it's on socials, but I haven't looked at like how to aggregate and be on podcast channels. I don't listen to podcasts, so it was out of
I don't
sight.
either. So
Okay.
I don't listen to podcasts. I just do one. So the easiest way to do a podcast is to go on to a podcast hosting platform. I use Acast. Libsyn, if you're looking for a cheap way to just get it out there, Libsyn it stands for Liberated Syndication, LIBSYN. They've been around for freaking ever. I had a podcast in 2005 on there. But I will say with Libsyn, if you're looking to upload everything quickly and just have it all there, Libsyn is not going to be your best bet because they charge based on upload quantities and you have limited amount of uploads. You can do it every month, but for something you want to upload a ton of stuff, it's not going to be your best bet. Acast would be much cheaper for that.
Okay.
You can preload in Acast. So like we're loaded up for the next couple of months already and everything will automatically drop when it's supposed to drop. And, you can custom put a separate cover if you want a special cover for each one and things like that and show notes and whatnot. The rule of thumb for a podcast is that you want to have a really robust description of the podcast. You usually have, I think it's like 4,000 characters you can use to describe your podcast. You want to use almost all of them, right? And really make sure you're keyword rich in your description. And then Acast will automatically populate it to everywhere else. So I think it's like $180 a month, a year rather. 180 a year. And it will do transcription. You're better off using some other service because the transcription sucks. They will allow, you can cross post to YouTube if you choose to. So it will, if you upload it there, you can just hit the button and it'll automatically cross post to YouTube. And then, definitely do show notes because that's what gets people to listen.
Yeah.
You don't want the show notes to be, I've seen people who don't do show notes at all. And I'm like, nobody's going to listen to that because they want to see what's in the episode. So, some people will do an entire transcript as their show notes. I don't. I generally just say, hey, here's what we're talking about and short and sweet and to the point because my people don't have a lot of time. So, although I say that, but then I have people call me up and say, I've listened to your entire podcast in the last 2 weeks, 284 episodes, minimum half an hour each.
Wow.
So I'm like, did you do anything else? And they're like, oh, well, I listened to the background while I was doing other things, when I was doing my grocery shopping or cleaning my house or whatever. It was like, they basically just spent their entire lives with me for the last 2 weeks.
What's your podcast?
Like, Spirit Sherpa.
Nice name.
Thanks. So, however, a lot of people can't spell Sherpa, so not as good as you would think.
SHERPA.
Yeah, a lot of people have never heard that word before, which I don't understand, but yeah.
Okay. I'll check it out.
Cool. So yeah, so if there's anything else I can help you with, the one other thing I would say, and you're probably already doing this, but if you haven't yet, it was a life changer for me, was putting together a spreadsheet that has all of the episode information, all of the contact information, all of the show note information, links to the artwork, links to the finished audio, all of that stuff in one single spreadsheet. When did we record it? When is it being published? The whole 9 yards. And I've taken and categorized mine because I do different types of episodes. So I make sure that I'm spreading them out and doing different things. So like I'll do a sound healing, or I'll do a interview, or I do different series, and I always split my series up. So if I'm doing a series, like we just finished the 7 Deadly Sins and Virtues series, and I aired them once every 6 weeks, so that if somebody doesn't like a series, they don't leave the podcast because it was 7 weeks in a row or whatever, right? And so that's another little hint in regard to that. And it also keeps people who like the series coming back, right?
Yeah.
So food for thought on that. But yeah, getting that structure in place was huge.
Oh yeah,
huge.
That's something I would totally automate.
Yeah, if you if you would like, I'm happy to give you view access to my spreadsheet, and you're welcome to steal the structure. And that would save you a little bit of time if you want that.
All right, thank you. Sure.
So yeah, I'm happy to do that for you if you're going to do it. If you're not going to do it, then I'm not going to force it on you. So would you find it helpful?
Yeah, like Q4 is crazy because I'm managing a large toy warehouse, but I am doing rapid fire interviews with my speakers and contributors. And I thought, I'm not going to throw it in podcasts. I'm going to clip it for TikToks and shorts and reels, but maybe I'll actually spend a few hours figuring it out so I can do that too. It's probably a good idea. I don't know why, when it's just like white noise, I don't want to learn this thing, but I'm sure it's pretty straightforward.
It is super easy. Yeah. Acast is easier than Libsyn, just because, well, I can't say that. I haven't been in the back end of Libsyn in forever, but I find Acast to be fairly intuitive. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So. Okay.
Well, it's been almost an hour. It was really nice to spend some time with you and get to know you.
Yes, I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. And I'll email over a copy of that for you as well, so you can see it.
Oh, thank you, Kelle.
You're welcome. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.